computer.
So I'll just need another 30 seconds to finish, George. Who was that? Thorin. That hat is an awesome disguise, George. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so 30 seconds to finish. This document has come from our alleged Victorian government. I and a few other people, including a bloke named Ian, has examined it and agreed that it has absolutely nothing in it that precludes us from legitimately going out of our house in compliance both with the document and complying with the reasons that we can leave our house. And so we wanted, hopefully tonight, to come up with a document that you could have in your car and start with your name and then a little box saying what the intended purpose of your visit out of your house was. It would be filled in before you left, and it might say, look, I'm driving to Lilydale to buy a toothbrush, and then I'm driving to Yarra Glen to buy some petrol, and then I'm driving from Yarra Glen to Seymour because a friend has rung me up and they've got a headache. So any reason you can think of to be out of your house is able to be undertaken and still make you fit within the compliance parameters of this document. In other words, it's useless, but it's being bluffed. It's being pushed at us as a bluff of you've got to stay in your home, because I can go, no, that says I've got to stay home, but it doesn't. It actually says there's all these reasons. Okay, so who wants to jump in next? Can someone jump on, hang on, can someone jump onto my Facebook page on their phone and send Seven, a mate of mine? How are we going to do this? I've got no idea. Can we log in? Yeah, or better still, can you give me your laptop with Facebook open? Yeah. I'll get into my, okay. All right, sorry, just some tech things here. I've got people up in Queensland wanting to get in.
What do you want? I can send it to them. What do you want?
Oh, great. I want you to contact Seven, S-E-V-N, Sherman, S-H-E-R-M-A-N, a friend of mine on Facey. I want you to send him the password number, which is 9, and he'll join us from northern New South Wales.
All right, got it.
Thanks, Rosh. Who wants to talk next?
Is it?
Yeah, go, Matt.
How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly. Except
okay.
You've got a funny accent, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I made a bit of a video today about conditional acceptance, and for where I sit, and I've listened to you there, and you're absolutely bang on with everything that you're saying there about these. You can leave the house. You're not really in lockdown because every reason that they've given is basically a reason that you can easily get round about. So I went out today. I've been out 2 or 3 times today, and I made a video just basically stating that, you know, obviously this compliance thing as well is a huge, well, to me that is the virus that's spreading is compliance. Compliance is the virus, and if we take on board the fact that it is a de facto government, and when they're addressing you, then surely it's just a case of, you know, basically you don't contract and you don't consent with them because they're obviously, you know, had an affirmation or an oath to the queen of the corporation fiction. So is it not a case of just addressing your rights and saying, sorry, I don't contract with you, I don't consent, you know, if it's one of these, you know, the colour of law or whatever, and it's a statute, it requires all parties to consent, and you know, I want to be on my way. And fines and stuff like that, generally, I have done in the past. I've actually said, you know, I don't accept any paperwork.
Yeah, that could be part of the document we produced tonight, Matt. Ian has prepared it. We reviewed it last night, made some pretty dramatic modifications to it, included it as being a beginner's copy and an advanced copy. And yeah, so, but Ian hasn't turned up with the thing on whatever it's called, USB stick, because I wanted to actually get the other person here with me, because there's only one other person, bullshit. I wanted to get them to modify it into a document that we could actually share on the screen like Darren did the other night. And then people could say, yes, that looks great to me. Let's print it up. Let's distribute it. And then next week, there's plans to run another one of these Zoom conferences. Who's talking? Anyway, on vaccinations, and from that, there's the possibility of a civil disobedience meeting in Fed Square here in Melbourne sometime, I don't know, coming up, to actually start pushing back at them. But yeah, as I say, I mean, I can't direct other people to arrive here and do what they say they're going to do. Ian didn't turn up, so I'm running with whatever's going to work. Yeah, I hear you, Thorin. And here's where, literally, Thorin, we need a guy with your expertise to come in, put this document up on the screen if and when Ian arrives with it, and examine it. I mean, he put me onto this. He said, go and find it and read it, Paulie. And I got it tonight, and I just flicked through 9 pages, and I went, yep, this is shit. You know, for example, I can go to Lilydale, buy a toothbrush, go buy petrol in Yarra Glen, go to Seymour, come back via Bunnings in Ballarat. I can drive anywhere the F I like. Yeah, go, Matt.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that when you actually said it's only valid for another 3 days. That's very telling indeed. How is that? You know, so you're going to be able to tell.
It says it here. It was published 7th of April, became effective midnight 7th of April. What was that, Tuesday? So it's been effective Wednesday, Thursday, today, Friday. When's the 13th? Is that Monday?
Yeah.
10, 11, yeah, it's Monday. So this is only in effect till midnight Monday. But that begs the question, what happens then? Go, Jane.
Can I ask again, please, who does that document come from?
This is on the Department of Health and Human Services website. It's issued by the Deputy Chief Health Officer under the directions of Brett Sutton, who is the Chief Health Officer of Victoria. And these have allegedly been put out as directions under the state of emergency that Andrews declared on the 16th of March. The first level of these restrictions came in the 30th of March, and now we're up to stage 3 on the 7th of April. So I don't know what's going to happen on the 13th, but effectively, I believe we've got to have something that I can shove in the face of a cop and say, here is all the legislation, and here's it paraphrased parts of the legislation. And you know, if I go out, go.
Yeah, well, what I'm hearing, sorry I interrupted you, what I'm hearing is from the 13th, if they don't update that document, like they haven't got a document.
Yes.
So that's what we can say. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they're not going to think that people are going to look at it too hard. So if they don't update that document, we're free, period.
No, Jane, they will update that document.
Oh, okay.
Paulie, can you please tell me what the name of the document is? Because I'm about to get it from the website. And also, I found there was the same directive on the 15th of March, and then they updated it again. So you're right, they will update it again.
Okay, look, you go on to the DHHS website, /state of emergency.
Yep.
Emergency. You find there's directions to do with coronavirus, and as you scroll down the page, you see direction 2, which is for businesses, which is this document here, 10 pages for businesses, small businesses. And then under that, you see stay-at-home directions number 3, and it's a 9-page document. Now, it's written in legalese, but when you examine it as an example, and here's a really classic example. It says, okay, what reasons can you go out of your house? Well, clause 8 is work and education. So let's look at clause 8, and it says, shut up phone. Your phone's ringing, George. I'm not answering it.
How can I answer it?
Clause 8 is leaving premises to attend work and education. This is a good one. Subject to subclause 2, blah, blah, blah. A person may leave the premises to attend work, whether paid or voluntary, including for charitable or religious purposes. Suddenly, Paulie got religious, so anytime he goes out, he's doing unpaid voluntary religious work. Or I can go out to attend an educational institution. Gee, the other person here in the room might be attending an educational. Or here it says, do anything necessary to attend that work or educational institution, including, but not limited to, taking a child to childcare or to an early childhood educational facility, a school or another educational facility, or another person's premises for childminding under clause blah, blah, blah. So I won't go in to read the clause, but when you examine clause 8, leaving premises to attend work or education, virtually any activity to do with your child in the car, you're going to pick up a bag from your friend's house where your child was playing and forgot their bag, any activity you want to do with a child is covered in there, and you can drive to bloody Ballarat to pick the bag up. Yeah, go, Matt.
I just want to share what I've seen today, and that was I feel that there's I know that this is obviously going to be renewed come Monday. I'm just wondering if we should maybe focus on the fact that the huge elephant in the room seems to be the whole mandatory vaccinations when we actually get out of this situation, and some ID, a passport. Should that not be the urgency that we work on rather than, you know, going, you know, just to, because we know we can get round about this fraudulent law anyway, so why should we not focus on what's going to be the next course of action by them? Then at least we're one step ahead. I'm just putting that point across.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Okay, let me just give a 30-second reply to that, Matt. We have been working behind the scenes. There are, there's not 2 people here, but there are people who've coordinated top anti-vax spokespeople in and around Australia to talk like we're all talking now at a Zoom presentation coming Monday. And I'll get some names. Who's going to talk? Anita? Yep. Last name? Anita Hafmeister. Okay, someone else? Who?
She worked with Meryl.
Just names, not what they do. Meryl
Dory.
Meryl Dory is talking.
Okay. Yep.
Some people may have ever heard of
Prue Neidenberg. In other words, what I'm trying to say is there's people here who want to deal with that subject, Matt, but it's going to be Monday night.
And they're the experts.
Okay.
And really outspoken and know what they're talking about really well.
Okay.
And they worked for years on this.
So just to finish, Matt, Mosh came and did a 45-minute video of me talking about this, and he's coming back to do another video about me talking about anti-vax measures. Now, he's a professional videographer. I'm going to be up on YouTube for the first time ever. Am I scared? No. But what I'm getting...
I know you got a face for radio.
Yeah. But what I'm getting at is that, yes, I hear you, Matt and Jane. We are the grassroots movement to fight against this. And yes, Jane, we've got to be more organised. And we're working on that. But, you know, I'm 7 and, yeah. Okay.
Thorin wants to say something, please.
Go.
Oh, I was just waiting for the appropriate moment. I think you've already really moved on from the place where I didn't think we really needed to be so much, and that was my concern is that perhaps like many aspects of the law, there are let's say holes in what they're doing at the moment to encourage us to stay at home and to not travel and so on. And I do agree that it's very arbitrary, the way that the police are policing it and so on. I think there are a number of problems with that. However, I guess what is maybe assumed in any of that potentially is, do we believe that the lockdown, the restrictions on movement or the encouragement to socially distance, is that something which we are in disagreement with in general terms or not? I just felt that there wasn't a sufficiently clear statement as to how we felt about that, and then therefore how we were going to react to that and how we were going to counter it. How do we feel about that? Because I mean, I have various different theories about what's going on, but I also believe in the precautionary principle. I don't necessarily know the full story about you know, how contagious this is, if it's real or not, and so on and so forth. So I'd rather be cautious, but I am also very aware of then the subsequent discussion, which I think is more important, and that is, are there going to be ongoing negative consequences for our rights and our freedoms? And I think that that is a better place to put our discussion, but I wanted to find out first from everybody, without going into too much detail and making it too much the focus of the conversation, is, do we feel that in general terms social distancing is something that we should do? It's just the basis upon which they've established it is fraudulent, or that it's ill-conceived?
I can answer because I researched a lot about the medical aspects of it and the contagiousness and all that kind of stuff. Do you want me to just say briefly about that?
Sure.
Go, Roshan.
So it is a real virus, but it's not as what the media portrays it to be. It's like a level 1 inflated to level 10 scaremongering in order to impinge and put all these rules, army, freedom, all that kind of stuff. So it's just like the flu. It's a virus, the same kind of contagiousness and all that, but it's preventable by the same ways. And the people who, like in China and all this, they've been just boosting their immune systems with vitamin C. So viruses can only be killed by your own body immune system. Antibiotics kills bacteria. So boosting your immune system does it, as well as other things as well. And Maddie, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, sorry, I strongly disagree with that after speaking to at least 4 medical professionals across Scotland. In fact, the virus is not contagious. In fact, it's actually a secretion of your own cells breaking down that actually caused this. And has a virus-like symptoms, but it is indeed not contagious. Ventilators seem to be not working. In fact, one specialist in New York had actually identified this and said that he was treating patients as if they came off the top of Mount Everest and they were lacking oxygen. So putting them in ventilators ultimately was causing their demise. So when you say, you know, that it is like a virus that's contagious, that's false. You can kiss somebody with this virus, you'll not catch it. You can do anything, interact, you can breathe on them, whatever. You'll not catch it because you can't catch a virus. A virus is a dead thing. So it's worth noting.
Can I jump in?
Sorry.
It was actually what Maddie said was right, because this is actually concerning. I found a document earlier on the U.S. Department of Health that the coronavirus is put in vaccines and injected into people, which is how people get it into their body. And then once the immune system goes down via 5G or whatever else, they experience that. I found a document from that. Maddie?
Okay.
Can I just
Before you go, can we jump from a technical discussion, which you and Rashan are having, Matt? Can we jump off that onto methods that we as a populace can take to free ourselves out of our houses first and then deal with the secondary issue of the medical side of it? Go, Matt.
Well, Paul, with all due respect, as Thoran, sorry, that said, we all need to identify why we're in this lockdown position. And with all due respect, it's good to have this conversation at the topic of, is it contagious, first of all? And are you, as Thoran said quite rightly so, are we in danger by simply locking ourselves away, or is this the best thing for us? I actually disagree, sorry, Polly, but I think this has got to be said when the facts have came out. And the facts are indeed proof positive that 4 medical professionals I've spoken to, along with certain interviews, have came across with the whole thing of, no, it's not contagious. Yes, it's a hypoxia-like situation, and it's a breaking down the secretions of your own cell structure that's actually causing this. So it's a lack of oxygen. So again, if we're talking about 5G, who knows, but we know that these are the symptom-based, that the same as 5G has. It's mimicking a virus-like situation. So just to answer Thoran's question, I would actually say, you know, unless they're rolling out 5G, or simply that's what we're dealing with. And again, I've looked at this extensively. I'm no expert, but what I'm saying is I have looked at this. Put it this way, I don't sleep much, and I'm in contact with NHS people, and they're telling me in the front line, you know, wards, and they've been in ear, nose, and throat departments for 15 years, and they feel it's a hoax, you know. And again, with these, do you want me to stop?
No, sorry, I'm trying to send a message.
I think a number of people
Okay.
drifted off track a bit, so for the purpose of this meeting. So that's the first thing. I'm actually going to appear in the skies for this one, seeing it's being recorded and all that. Okay, but many of you know who I am. But I'm suggesting, actually, I'm using it as a bit of theatre to sort of say, we're talking about the methods, what methods we can use. Now, if you've got all these surveillance cameras everywhere that have got facial recognition, you first of all got to get geared up so you've got the perfect environment to put on a disguise now. Okay? It's like go out in disguise, like this. You know, oh shit, I'm scared of the virus. I'm in disguise. And it's like, that'll fuck up the facial recognition cameras. And it'll give a lot more freedom. Okay?
You want to put that?
I have no words.
Yeah, Ewan.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Faye, you look very cute. Ewan, can you give everyone here a tiny? Yeah, no, Thorin, that's not doing it for me, mate. Ewan, can you give everyone here a tiny 2-sentence explanation of your background and just try and put everyone into
Context?
Yeah, give us all an update on what you know about the biology of what's going
Good on you, Rashan.
Yeah. Okay, over to you, Ewan.
Okay, well, let's talk about symptoms, because symptoms are not like anything that's been experienced before. Something that, yeah, like somebody said something about the ventilators. I think that is probably killing people. The actual problem seems to be a bit like mountain sickness. That is, if you don't get enough oxygen. But it seems to be something that attacks the red blood cells. So symptomology, a lot of the treatments have been done incorrectly. Obviously, giving oxygen is useful, but not forced ventilation. It can fuck up the lungs and even at the heart. You can often get heart failure from that too. So obviously, the treatments, you really got to sort out that. That's all right. Now, you can prevent it. You can prevent it with nutrition, good nutrition. You know, getting a personalised Chinese herbal formula made up by a qualified person. You can do. There's a lot of options. You can get, you know, assistance on the things that you need. And obviously, there's some obvious things like vitamin D, like vitamin C, like zinc. You know, most people are passing those around. They know about them, so they're easy ones. You know, and you know, hopefully there's enough supplies of vitamin C because they're going to need them. But you know, if Faye wants to speak, she'll have a lot more ideas than me. But anyway, if anyone can speak to Faye about those things at any time.
Can I put my hand up?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Is that you, George?
That was I'm Tony. here. Say again?
Yeah, I thought that was you, George, but Tony wants to make a comment. Tony,
If I may.
please make it brief because I'm going to ask everyone to
Yeah.
jump on. Yep, go.
Okay, all right. I'm a first year Chinese medicine student for a little while, longer than a year. But I've been, I guess, being my own doctor for a while, and I've been following a gentleman by the name of Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, who has 2 bioscience degrees up his sleeve, and he has all of the backing documentation that anyone needs to see, from the 5G 60 gigahertz frequency that will impede the oxygen absorption into the hemoglobin, etc., etc. There's also the 6 gigahertz wide gig, which will be the Wi-Fi. I have an electronics
What are we going to do?
background as well, a little bit in terms of electronics design, and I have proper engineers behind me that try to debunk some of this stuff. But when I pose the question of the Internet of Things, the IoT, and how the bandwidth of the 5G is going to impact our lives in terms of active denial and social crediting and all that kind of jazz, whether we get zapped by ionizing or non-ionizing 5G 60 gigahertz microwaves is kind of irrelevant, because you can go and saturate yourself with Wim Hof oxygen or eat an alkaline diet, etc., get your little 5G bioshield and wear it in your pocket, or some shungite, etc. But the actual social side of things, where they're going to drain everyone out of society if they choose not to be vaccinated, how are we going to sustain ourselves when such an economic collapse has hit the entire planet? People like Max Egan are getting reports that the entire food supply chain has been affected drastically already, and apparently national parks are out of bounds. We can't collect water. It all ties in with Agenda 21, etc., etc. So I'll leave it there.
Okay.
There's a lot to digest.
Tony, thanks for that. Some of the people that haven't made comments, do you want to somehow indicate, I don't know how you'll do it, maybe in the group chat? I mean, it'd be great to hear from some other people.
What about
Go,
Wayne?
Lana. Now,
So,
just before you talk, Lana, if people look in the group chat, I've put notes up saying I sent an SMS to Wayne and did not hear back from him. So all I can assume is that he's decided not to join us. Okay, go Lana.
So I'm a doctor, but I practice in the psychological areas. But having some understanding of biology, I'm very, very confused. I've also heard about the issue of the virus somehow attacking the heme and whether it's 5G or not. At this point in time, I'm actually more concerned, I think, about our rights and about the New World Agenda. And that's what concerns me the most, and our economy crashing. And I'd like to know how we could, as the 90% of us, how we could have a well-organised resistance or some movement to ensure that our rights are protected.
Okay, who wants to answer that?
We could blow up Parliament.
Hang on, let's keep it simple. Who wants to answer?
Hey, I'll have a go, Paul. I'll have a go, Paul.
We've got an answer from the one other person that's in the room with me. Maybe you'll want to listen to this guy. He's got some pretty incredible experience. He's going to come on to the screen. Okay.
Can you hear me from here?
Can you hear him? Yes, speak.
Yeah, look, the answer to that is you need people with experience in organising, people that are focused. There is no people that are focused in this organisation. Sorry, and I hope no one's offended by that. I'm just stating the facts. You need people that understand economics, which I do. I've got 30 years experience. I know exactly what's going to happen. I've got networks all over the world. With respect to political movements, all legal matters, there is experience in this group, but it's not pulled together, and it's actually fracturing because there is no leadership in this organisation whatsoever, and that they are the facts. So until people step up, and I've offered opportunities in this group for people to step up, and they're not stepping up. And if you can't take personal responsibility, then, you know, we need people who can. And that's the bottom line. And it's not happening. So if you wish to volunteer some of your time and you commit, I will organise it if people want to do that. If you're not serious, then all you're doing is peddling fear porn and subjectivity. And that's what's happening in this group. Another group that was associated with this is now left. There's been a mass exodus due to lack of organisation and lack of leadership. So that's all I've got to say. If anyone wants to get serious, they can contact me. My name is Ian Sleeth, and I've set up a Facebook group, and people who are actually going to communicate, act like adults, are courteous, and commit to what they say they're going to do, I would like to hear from. Thanks.
Great. Now, I'll just add something. Ian did put a fair bit of time into preparing a document that I think he's still got, Ian, on memory stick. Have you got the document on it?
Yeah, I'm going to leave.
Yeah. Hang on a minute.
Excuse me, can I say something, please?
Yep, okay.
Taking action.
All right.
And if you guys want to get serious, I'm really interested.
Okay, all right.
So I'll thank you, Stuart.
All right, hang on, guys. We're just going to get the memory stick that we're just going to get the memory stick that Ian prepared with the document on it, and hopefully someone's going to be able to put it up as a document on the screen, like Darren did. Hang on a minute. Is that okay? He's going to get it. Okay, look.
Jane, say what you're going to say, Jane.
I'd just like to share, I've just joined this group, and I find the comment, sorry, that I just heard is like what's going on at the moment in society. It was very controlling. I thought it didn't touch, move and inspire me to step up and be in this group. I just want to share my integrity around what I just heard. And there's no, I've been on this call, I haven't heard a clear intention of what we're actually trying to achieve here. And I just want to share that that's how I'm feeling at the moment, and that we've just been spoken to like children. And I get we need to take responsibility. However, I want to be touched, moved and inspired to step up. That didn't work for me. Sorry, I'm just sharing. I'm being honest.
Hey, what? Ian said what? Okay, hang on. Sorry, I've got to have a quick convo with the other person that's in the room here. Can you just talk amongst yourselves for 1 minute or 2 minutes? George, can you coordinate, please?
Yeah, I could actually agree with what Jane was saying. It's been a moving target from what I can see, and we every few days the target was changing. We had social distancing directives on us, and then it became don't step out of your house unless you've got a very good reason. I guess it's come at us at a very fast pace, and one of the elements that I might propose is we're dealing with a broken system, and perhaps we're wasting energy if we're trying to fight it rather than putting some sort of positive energy into what our endeavours, like for example setting up a community well away from the city and start going into serious food production. There's obviously going to have to be some interfacing with the system, but to keep that at a minimum is probably a good idea. I don't know, is that an intention?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, but I don't agree with the idea that this has all come upon us so quickly. I think that honestly, this is something which they've been doing repeatedly in many different ways, and I think the main problem is, and I agree with you though, George, about the idea of what I would describe as being resilient, being independent, being self-sufficient, because the more that we give up our capacity to be able to look after ourselves, the more that we become reliant. And the more that we become reliant, the more we are able to be controlled. So the idea of growing our own food, of providing for our own needs, that all makes sense to me and always has. That's why I haven't just suddenly run out to stockpile toilet paper and food. I've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So just because I anticipate and I plan for such things as this. So I think the real thing is to describe to each of us from each of us to each of us what it is that we think is important about how we what specific things we need to do in order to be self-sufficient. What is it that we need to do?
Okay, I'll make some suggestions there.
I'll make some too,
I'll make a suggestion there. If I go right back to the early 1980s and some material I was working with back then, maybe before people were born, it says your world is currently involved in the final throes of a role play of international proportion. Your politicians, world and country leaders, newscasters, and numerous others connected with current affairs type programs or similar related categories are all playing important parts in this international drama. There is continual, gradually intensifying focusing or hypnotizing of the eager to be informed but disgusted public into a more frenetic, angry and fearful state. And the reason I raise that is we don't want to go down the path of frenetic, angry and fearful. We know this this virus has been blown out of proportion. And my view is they've tried to create pandemics a number of times over the past 20 years. It's always failed, and this is no exception. But they have decided, oh, let's lock everybody down anyway, right? And it could also be an excuse to start putting out the 5G system, because that's another level of, let's say, depopulation agenda, which could be happening. Now, if I go to another aspect from the 1980s, it's worth sticking with me for a moment. I've just got to bring it up on my screen. Won't take long. Here, desire to come on. Where is it? What? Hang on, I'm on the wrong page. Wait a minute.
While George is doing it, what I was going to say was that the locking everyone in, the whole virus is a pretense to lock everyone inside, so we can't see what they're doing on the outside and can't protest, can't gather in social numbers, blah, blah, blah. And in the United States, there were documents from people who work with the Board of Education that the 5G is going up on schools and all that, like popping up everywhere under the pretense that these workers are coming in to cleanse and, clean the schools, but they're putting up the 5G towers in the schools and everywhere else. So it's just to keep us inside in the dark, and then when they turn the lights on, we won't know what happened.
If I can just add to that, what we might be overlooking is the fact that there may be two factions that are fighting it out amongst each other, the white hats and the black hats. It is possible, just vaguely possible, I don't believe this, but vaguely possible that keeping us inside may be a way of protecting us from economic meltdown and riots. There may be some merit in it, although I tend to think that it's more for control. But that's just something to consider, that, possibly, if this movement is happening and there is going to be a lot of economic meltdown and riots, you wonder, where do you want to be, inside your house or out in the streets?
Yeah, another angle, Lana, is that by getting everybody off the streets and out of public places and things like that, there could be an assumption that the lands have been abandoned. And if that's can be sustained for 3 months, then a foreign military power could move in and take over. And that could be a concern. That's one of the questions I wanted to pose Wayne tonight, but he hasn't turned up. But if I go back to where I was going earlier, I talked about the media and the governments and the panic that's the fearful stages that is being perpetrated. Well, there was another spiritual teacher in the early 1980s. I'll just read out a couple of things from there. And that teacher said, if you desire to sustain, find a piece of land and love it. In other words, if there's a divine purpose for humans, maybe it is that we are here to tend the earth and improve the soil, improve biodiversity, because that helps us and it helps the earth. And one of the mistakes we're perhaps making is congregating in big cities. It doesn't make sense. That's where all the smart grid stuff is. That's where all the smarts are, and to keep us under control, and facial recognition. That's where it's going to happen. That's where they're going to spray. That's where they're going to vaccinate. It is going back to the 1980s, but perhaps it's relevant today. What was proposed was purchase property And I'm not speaking of condos. Get out of the cities. They will be the most dangerous places to live. Even these days now, they are becoming so. They will become unbearable in the days to come. Purchase land close to small townships. Do not live so far into the hills that no one can find you. Purchase land where you can grow things that not only support you, but that you can render and barter in the days to come. You can never lose on land that is purchased. You never will. Does anybody familiar with Ramtha?
Yep.
Okay, I'm not exactly a Ramtha devotee, but I found that quite inspiring. And you know, we've taken some moves to go down that track. If we don't buy the land in the country, it's going to be less and less accessible. You know, there is still some beautiful lands. I'm talking about 10,000 hectares or something like that, which are available. You know, they're not going to be cheap, but if you spread the cost over 10 to 100 people, it shouldn't be that bad. Anyway, that's just a suggestion. I could yeah, go on. I could talk about this all night, but you know, have something to say, Lara.
I absolutely agree with you, George. The only issue is that I think that when summer comes, we're going to have the same issue with the fires, because I think those fires were man-made and controlled, and I think they were there to try to direct us out of from the land, and I think it's going to happen again. So I think that those that are on the land, we're going to have to prepare very well for more fires.
Could be.
Well, you can't afford it either way, because your insurance is tied to all of that as well. Go and build something on some land in rural areas and see what it will cost you to insure it. And to get a loan, you need to have insurance. It just loops. They're all tied in together.
There's a number of issues I can see, and we're going down different like rabbit holes, and with fires and things like that. Even though I agree with that, what I'm hearing from everyone is that what I can see is that regarding the virus, I think we all agree that it's not what it seems, right? Then we have short-term, medium, long-term objectives. Like the long-term one would be sustainable farming, there's food and all that in little communities in the country, whatever, but we can't do that right now in the next few weeks or months. So I think the primary objective should be in the short term, and then worry about the long term as we move forward. So in the short term would be waking up the sheeple, which would be getting whatever documents that we can all agree on, and then like mass printing them and putting them for distribution that people can pick up and read, start asking questions of the people, and they'll slowly wake up. And I think that's where we should start. And whether the virus is contagious or not, or whether it's oxygen or this, like splitting hairs and finer details isn't that important right now. It's to wake up people to go, you're being bullshitted to. So be curious and start asking questions, and here's some of the answers we provide.
Maybe more importantly, the protocols that we need to put in place to be able to say no. So KNO with a K, KNO, and to say no with an N, no, the two no's, to be able to say to our oppressors when they come knocking on our doors with those little swabs or whatever they're going to test our temperature with, right? They're talking about bringing the WHO police into knocking on your door and taking your children, whether it's a scare tactic or not. At some point, we may have to face that. How do I have, not enough, if I had too much ginger, for instance, and my body temperature rises, that could make me a suspect of COVID-19 or 20 or 21 or whatever it's going to be next year. How do I give them a piece of paper and go, this is against any protocols of the Nuremberg Code or the Geneva Convention? You cannot put any foreign matter into my body. End of story.
And that's what I think the meeting or moving forward should be. It's like before we do offense, we need defense. So to have those kinds of protections for ourselves using the existing system. And then once we've got those, advance the ball forward.
Can I
Hey,
suggest something?
thanks, Jane. Can I just jump in really quickly? There's a new person entered the Zoom chat window. There's no picture attached yet, but possibly Darren, who drives a van, might be called an iVan, a bit like an iPhone. He seems to be having some trouble with his sound, which is a bit surprising given that he's a sound engineer. But yeah, if he wants to make a comment, can we all let him come on and introduce himself?
Ask him to chat on text.
Sorry, yeah, ask him whether he's going to make a comment on, ask him via chat, please, George.
Yeah, try typing something in chat if you can, Darren Niven. Hang
Are
on.
you after Paul?
No, he's come on now. He's got voice.
Hey, Darren, turn your microphone up, mate.
What do you need to know, Paul?
I need to know whether you've analysed the 9-page document that's on the DHH website, and I believe you have, but I'd be interested in a comment about the bottom of page 1 of 9 says these directions, stay-at-home directions, number 3, are in force from midnight 7th of April to midnight 13th of April.
Yes, I do believe they can last up to 4 weeks.
Well, that's only 6 days.
Well, I do believe I know someone that just got back some court documents that directed them to go to court on the 20th of April. So I do believe they're going to be lifting all this.
Wow.
Or it'll probably go back to stage 2. Like they'll just reverse it. They won't lift it completely.
And then they'll manipulate the numbers and have another second wave of even worse cases or whatever, and then they'll say everyone back in. Give it 2 months.
Jane, please.
Okay, so what I would like to suggest, whether you like her or not, she's not my favourite woman. However, Pauline Hanson has been banging on about the Chinese and other things for years. And there are a lot of people that are contacting her office. There's a lot of groups contacting her office. She's the only independent that really has the people. She really cares. I believe she's got good intentions for the people in the country. So that's another place of contact, I believe, for a mass petition, mass contact.
I don't know. Whatever happened to Anne Brensington?
Hang on, Tony. Tony, please let Jane finish.
Sure.
And Malcolm Roberts, like, whether you like them or not, and they're not my, like, as I said, Pauline's not my favourite woman. She doesn't articulate very well. However, she really has got Australia and Australia's people at heart, I believe. And she's independent, and I don't know what she can do, but I just know there's a lot of conscious people and conscious groups and who are concerned about these issues that are contacting her at the moment. I'm running it just by as an immediate action that could be taken once we get the document formulated, that's all.
Okay, can I just quickly answer that for the benefit of people who might have just joined? A guy in our group produced this document 2 days ago. He just addressed you all and gave you his name as Ian. Now, he'd produced this document on the basis of what he'd read, the 9-page document on the DOOH site, stay-at-home directions. He'd read it, analysed it. He's a smart guy with banking experience. He understands legalese even upside down. He basically said, look, let's produce a document. He went home and did it, which if one were to have with one's, car, handbag, whatever, would basically allow you to be out of your house at any time with a valid reason. And we've made some modifications to it. But I'm seeing that if a document like this was perfected and mass presented, and I'm probably going to need some tech help to do it. I mean, I've got it on a memory stick. He's given it to me, but I don't know how to put it into my laptop and type it up and send it to you all, because I think we're going to have 2 laptops linked together or whatever. But what I'm seeing is that there's, and I totally agree with Jane in your first address to us, Jane, when you said we need a clear sense of an intention and we need to organise ourselves to achieve that intention. So yeah, look, this is only my 4th ever Zoom. I just finished a 45-minute YouTube presentation, which a professional mate of mine should be putting on YouTube now. And we're hoping to follow this with another meeting on Monday to do primarily, or to wholly centre on the vaccination questions of how to avert. Go, what, Darren? Sorry, what was that?
I'll see you guys later. I'm just doing a radio show.
Yeah. We heard that there was an opposing group to us tonight.
No, we're working together.
What are the details, Darren?
Is Wayne Gluebean on?
Wayne didn't show, Darren. I
gotta go. I'll see you guys later. I'll come back during the break.
No worries. Thanks, mate. Okay, who wants to talk?
I would.
Hang on, we've got the other person in the room here that wants to talk.
I would like to hand you
Okay, I'm going to get handed a document.
an action plan.
And I'm going to read it. And it's an action management plan. It needs key contacts for coordination. It needs engaged researchers and experts on 5G, health, civil rights, etc. It needs flyers, pamphlets, info drops created with relevant issues of our rights. It needs a brainstorming workshop on each specific area of concern and interest, and then the creation of flyers, pamphlets, templates. Okay, and it finishes by saying, start talking to every person who you trust on Facebook to network, what's that word? With their local community to create support groups and committees to back up protection, to have panic buttons to plan, etc., etc. Call in every contact you know. Enable and promote info nights, which is what we're doing. So this person who gave me this is actively involved in protecting her children from getting them vaccinated, and everybody, including her 70-year-old friend Paulie. But yeah, I think this is a planning meeting. So take us to where we want to go. Who wants to talk?
So if I could just expand on that a little bit.
They can't hear you. If you're going to have to literally talk into Where's the microphone on my bloody laptop?
I'll just be here. So if I can just expand on that a little bit.
Can you hear her?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so my idea is that we get this happening in every single community, and every single community has a small community or somebody who has strong, passionate views on this and wants and can actually keep things organized in every small community. So I would like suggest that what we have now is a small community, and it's focused in the hills area, right? But we need this to travel like wildfire right across the whole country, and we need people connecting with their other close communities and keeping everyone informed. Now, on Tuesday, there is a bigger action plan talk happening about how we actually need to move en masse, but we can't do that until we've got this networked community thing happening right across Australia, and we've all got our crap together and know exactly what we're doing, and then we all move together at once, if that's what we need to do. Like, and so that's where I'm coming from at this point, and I'm working really hard, but I'm not a leader. Like,
Okay, anybody got a comment? Thank you, other person in the room.
well,
Anybody got a comment?
Well, I've got a comment.
Go.
I'm only speculating that this was about something that is planned in the not too distant future, that where people are going to bust out and demand that they're let out of the cages. Is that what we're talking about, for starters?
You tell us.
I've been receiving some inbox kind of information that it's some sort of an organised protest that people are going to demand that they no longer be kept in their homes. Now, this could be organised from controlled opposition, and then, you know, let's identify everyone and hand select them and whatnot. I have information that after this whole thing in Wuhan sort of died down, 21 million less phone users have been reported. These SIM cards have just disappeared. 21 million. That's the one, yeah. So some of these scare tactic type videos that I've seen in the last few weeks kind of seem like not so much as these people were you know, infected or whatnot with coronavirus. They kind of look like people with big mouths and political dissidents, I think they call it. If I was a general and I had an intent or an agenda to go and sink my boots into society, I would be inclined to be going along the same ways. People that were, you know, locked their hinges, welded their hinges, or dumped some soil in front of their front doors, etc., etc.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Anybody else?
Yeah, I've got a problem with it because we might be right. Okay, let's just say that, and I'm typically inclined to agree that this has all been blown out of proportion. But like I said, I also want to take the precautionary principle. But more than that, even if I'm absolutely right, and this is just the virus itself, it's completely blown out of proportion. It's complete nonsense. Let's just assume that's true. The problem is that the vast majority of people don't believe that, and as a consequence, any action to flout that will be deemed to be socially irresponsible. We have to build that solidarity over time, and to get people to understand that that is in fact the case, if that is in fact the case. And if we do that prematurely, we'll probably lose steam, not gain it.
exactly.
I agree with what you said, Soren, and what comes to my mind on that is like, what's her name? Greta Thunberg, how you say, like when she started just with different views on different things that she does, but just essentially started small with a sign, this, whatever, and more and more people gradually took notice in the public. So it's kind of just start small, and you're right that if we just, all run out of our houses and run onto Fed Square and start yelling and shouting, that's not going to go down very well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks, Samson. Christina had her hand up. Christina?
Jane's got.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yes, look, I agree with what Thorin was saying in relation to any organised opposition from any community groups. People are terrified in their homes, in the street, and anything that's going to, they're already in a state of confusion, like us too, because we don't know really what's going on. We're just here to look after ourselves and our communities. So it's a really hard call where to start, but I think we have to be realistic and look at our immediate environment. I'm also concerned about what is going to happen on Tuesday, or is it Monday evening, now that we're in stage 3. What have they got planned next? And I'll be very interested to know what they have got planned next. Although I noticed that Andrews rolled back some of the restrictions during the week in relation to being able to attend religious events. And there was another one that you could start doing. I can't remember what it was now, which was indicative of a rollback of the lockdown restrictions. So, it's really hard to know what to do in the immediate term. But I think to continue discussions and to voice our concerns and to set some, people have talked about different intentions, and is to bring them together and try and crystallise them, and keeping up with the change in the current circumstances, which are changing, as we said, daily. So there's a lot to take in. It's a lot to do, but yeah, I think we're doing great just getting together and talking about this in the first place. And I agree with Lana about the human rights. That's a real issue for me as well, and our freedoms. And that's really a core issue for me anyway. Yeah.
All right. Can I? Yeah.
I wanted to.
Go.
Can I say something?
Go, Lana.
So, first of all, regarding 5G, everyone knows about the Stop 5G movement, don't they? There's already a very well-organised Stop 5G movement. And if I can suggest, I'm about to join, it's called www.safecountry.org.au. That's a membership to an organisation that is actually fighting 5G legally, but they need funds. That's www.safecountry.org.au. So that's something I think we should all be putting a bit of money into so they can fight it legally. The other thing is, I know that George was going to be possibly talking about some laws today. Well, that's what I was led to believe. I'd love to know a bit more about our legal position and, what are our rights to say, to not be vaccinated and what rights do we have as citizens? Because I'm not that aware of my civil rights, and that's an area I'd like to bone up on.
Okay, if I can answer that briefly and then hand over to George, Lana. As I said earlier, there is to be a focused Zoom meeting on Monday at 8 p.m. and the subject will be entirely around what steps we can take to leverage a government agency to choose not to vaccinate you. And I use my words very carefully.
And also, everybody's right. That sort of
Yep.
well-being talked about.
Okay, so look, that's, hang on a minute, that's got to really be Monday's focus. And several people are working behind the scenes to get some some Australia-wide personalities who have got information that can answer that question, Lana. Now, who's come in recently? Hang on, Danny.
I have, Paul.
Oh, okay, yeah, we haven't heard from you, mate. Go.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had problem with sound and getting on and stuff like that, so I'm a bit behind the topics. Just to, I'm having trouble with this thing.
We can hear you, Tony McCall.
I just want to say something in regards to what Lana said about vaccination. Now, we've got a number of rights. Some of them come under the Criminal Code, 1914, the Crimes Act, sorry, 1914, Section 28, where we have our political rights protected by that. I don't know if you're familiar with the Know Your Rights group.
We are, most of us are, Tony.
Very much.
Yeah. Now, they have a warranty form, and that's what I've been sort of like putting on Facebook a fair bit. That's a really good form. What do? You say like a doctor or anybody wants to vaccinate you, you hand that to them and say, please sign this. It's it puts them under or in a position where they vaccinate you, they're under commercial liability for any damages done to you.
Yep, we're familiar with that, Tony. Can we jump off the nuts and bolts of what you're saying and just give us an overview of where you see we're going?
What in respect to the vaccination you're talking about?
Well,
or just overall?
The general restrictions we as a populace are facing.
Yeah, that's a hard one, man.
Okay, while you're thinking, there's a new entity come in. Fiona, can't see the last bit. Do you want to make a comment, Fiona?
Turn on the audio.
Okay, Fiona, can you put a thumbs up to indicate you can hear me? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I've just joined the conversation from an invitation from Reka. She invited me tonight, so I don't know much about the group. I'm literally just here out of curiosity and the concerns currently facing this crazy pandemic.
Okay, sit tight. We haven't heard from Reka, R-E-K-A. Do you want to make a comment? Hello, Reka.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah.
You've got the floor.
Sorry? Yeah, I'm here. Hi guys. You know who I am. I come to your meetings sometimes, so I invited Fiona as well through Nick.
Yep.
Yeah.
So any suggestions you want to make to us all?
Look, I haven't been listening through the whole conversation, being on and off Zoom. So what are we up to at the moment? Talking about right now, because I'll come back.
We're all trying to focus on ways we can regain our liberty and the effects that we might be under if we stay locked in our homes too much longer.
Well, don't ask me this question. I'm here to get the answers from you guys, mainly. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. I actually do leave my house. I'm not particularly worried about getting fined because, you know, I will obviously take it to court, and I believe there's always a way we can get out of things most of the time. So I'm not going to be locked up. I will be going out, but I will have some sort of excuse, obviously, but I'm not going to stay inside. That's for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Paul?
And I haven't been staying in.
Paul?
Yep, sorry. Go, George.
Yeah, okay. Lana raised the idea of what are my rights, okay? And something I've talked about before is I say that there is only one true jurisdiction. You know, we're talking about jurisdictions and rights and legislation and human rights. There is only one true jurisdiction, and that's the divine jurisdiction, that we are eternal and infinite beings, and we've somehow forgotten that. To me, it's the most important thing to know who you are, right? And now I've just produced a video which I've just put up online last night, I think it was, Beyond Your Straw Man is what it's called. Go to our YouTube site and watch 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You'll find I think you'll find some interesting stuff, and also the text that's associated with the video. It provides a description of the straw man, right? I'm not saying it's a definition, it's just a description that I put together. And the straw man, as many of us know, is a creation of mind. It's a fiction, and as soon as you identify with the fiction, then that's how the state, the corporation, actually does business with you, right? And so if you do not identify with the straw man, they have to deal with the living, breathing human being instead, which doesn't come under their statutes. But the video, if you listen to it substantially, goes much further than that. It goes further into why we're here, why we've chosen to be here at this time, and goes into issues like personal responsibility. You know, when we look at these things that are happening and we call them bad, on a collective basis, we've created them. And so if we're disowning them, then we're throwing away the responsibility that we have to deal with it. You can only change it once you've taken the responsibility for the disharmony that's on in the outer world. And so what I'm getting at is this is it's a consciousness, it's an awareness issue. If you know how to use the spirit as opposed to the straw, then the courts, as they stand, do not have any jurisdiction over who you are. Yeah, you have to watch the video.
George, can we grab a comment from, where's he gone now? Where are you, Ren? You got a comment to make, mate?
Ryan, sorry.
Ryan.
Ryan, yes, right. I'll put a couple of comments up in the public chat for people to have a look over. Understanding, I suppose, as probably the hard thing for most people, is understanding the situation we're in. The government and police are running this place under international laws of armed conflict?
Yep, the Geneva Code, the Geneva Convention, and the Lever Code.
Yeah.
Got that?
Sure. So, as a citizen of the nation, you're classified as an unarmed combatant in theatre of war.
Yep.
Which is a complete opposition to a civilian. We've all been made citizens of Australia. We all used to be subjects, civilians of the Commonwealth of Australia. Two different entities, two separate rule books, two separate constitutions.
And what are you saying is a solution, Ryan?
Solution is, it's a hard one, but recognition is obviously the first step for pretty much anything. Just having the knowledge is enough power to know how you should be dealt with under circumstances in wartime.
Okay. So, Ryan, I just want to jump in. I've been down the path you're explaining for the last eight and a half years, and been doing a lot of study. A lot of the people that are currently watching this Zoom will not have that understanding, and it's a very deep subject, and I'd suggest that you just touch lightly on it, put some comments up in the chat site so people can read up if they want to. But fundamentally, tonight's presentation was going to be centered on how do we get out of our homes and still comply with the 9 pages that Dr. Annalise Van Diemen put up on the 7th of April. Now, Ian has gone through that. I've gone through it. I've done a 45-minute YouTube video, which should be up soon. Essentially, my mate Ian has come up with a document. I'm going to try and show it to you. Oh, yes, that works. What's that say? It says stage 3, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on and on and on. And on page 2, it goes on and on. But it's a document that he came up with, which he said has got the relevant information to stick in the nose of any nosy cop who pulls you over and say, I'm allowed out of my house because I'm complying with these stipulations, these directives, and yet I'm also complying with the exemptions that are in here, so you can't shove me back in my house. And you can't find me because I've followed the exemption on the DHHS page. And so that to me appears an important step to come out with a form, and we'll perfect it and get it up in the next 24 hours, which basically says here in the first part of the form are the reasons I'm out of the house, and I've filled it in reference to the allowed exemptions. And, you know, if I'm going to visit a friend who needs compassionate support, I've rung that friend. I've got them to be willing to answer a call from the police. If the police ring and say, well, is this guy bullshitting or is he actually coming to see you? In other words, getting around the restriction that the chief health officer has put on us seems easy to do. But underneath that, what do we do when we start repopulating the streets? I mean, you know, if these went out and 2,000 people said, okay, we're going to distribute these to 3 other people, so there's what, 6, there's 8,000 people that would have this form. What does that then translate to in terms of practical effect when the cops realise they go back to their place of work and go, hey, we pulled 10 cars up today thinking we were going to issue 10 fines, and each of the car travellers, gave us this same form. they now have the way to get out of their houses and still comply with the Chief Health Officer's directions. Whoops, we're in trouble. Where do we go from there? So I'm a practical ex-builder. I want something that can work for everybody. I know it can work for me because I can talk my way out of a paper bag, but we want something, and maybe Darren's going to tell us, seeing he's jumped back in.
Yeah, what I would do is I would rely on standard practice of law, that it is the burden of proof is on the police to tell you whether you have committed a crime. You have the right to remain silent. I would exercise that right, and I would say to the officer, if you think I've committed a crime, let's go to court.
Exactly.
Because they have to. If you remain silent, this is the thing, if you remain silent and exercise that right, they cannot charge you with anything because you have made no admissions. They only charge you when you make the admission, oh, I'm going for a drive, or oh, I'm going to Paul's house to have a beer with him. Okay, if you exercise your right of silence, which is standard practice in law, and you put the emphasis on them, which is, if you consider me that I've committed a crime, then please charge me and take me to court, and we'll let the judge decide, because you have nothing to go off. You must remember that when police pull you up, they only charge you with what you tell them.
Yep. Yeah, I actually thought through that the other day, Darren, and drew myself up 5 or 6 questions, and was intending to go to my local police station and say, what are the reasons, you know, before I read this document, what are the reasons I can be out of my house? And if I was charged, what would I be charged with? And I didn't do it. I thought, no, I can't.
So let me tell you something else that I just did on the radio show.
Yep.
Okay. I've checked out all the legislation, okay, and all the health orders. Now,
Yep.
I rang the helplines for Victoria, the Victorian Parliament. They sent me to DHS,
Yep.
which I called, and I had to speak to about 7 or 8 people before I got someone who was competent enough to answer the questions. And you've probably seen online that 2 minutes, yep. You've probably seen online, okay, that people are being issued with fines under the Crimes Act. There are no offences under the Crimes Act. They're under the Health and Wellbeing Act, okay? And they're in Schedule 8 of the regulations, and those offences they're being charged with do not exist within the Act or the regulations. And the guy from DHS told me, if you're getting issued with things under the Crimes Act, that you need to question the police about it because they're doing the wrong thing. I got to go. I'll talk to you a bit later.
Sounds good, mate. Bye. All right. Who wants to jump in? What about Timbo D? He sounds Italian.
Well, hang on. Danny's got his hand up, and I think he wants to say.
Oh, sorry, Danny, didn't see. What actually do you have your hand up, Danny? Sorry. Go on, Dan.
You got to turn.
No, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Oh, wow. I'm just playing with this thing. I'm just getting the hang of it.
All right. Talk, mate.
Oh, well, it's good to see everyone on here, Mr. Thorin. I thought Thorin was going to say something. He was standing up. You wouldn't want to rely on me. But actually, it was interesting what the fella said before about you only get charged with what comes out of your mouth. So if there's no admissions or confessions, well, that's going to be interesting, isn't it? How are they going to charge? Or how they get prove?
How does that dynamic work in a martial law situation when you're...
Tony, do not interrupt,
yes,
mate.
Yes. I thought he was finished, sorry.
Go on, Danny.
Oh, no, I was just asking. It's just interesting when, you know, we're talking to the authorities, you know, do we give comments? Because I come across this a lot you know, if they're going to arrest you, anything you say can and will be used against you. Well, if that's true, why is it you're asking me to comment, or why is it one's asking for a statement? It's kind of like one hand you're asking for that you're going to be anything you say can and will be used against you. Then on the other hand, they're wanting you to make like a statement. You know, which is it?
All right, thanks, Danny. Now, Tony, do you want to make a comment? Make it brief, please.
How does this dynamic work in a martial law situation, which we're all heading towards 6 foot away equals 6 foot under? You got no witnesses. You can be hauled away and then tested for a temperature, and then before you know it, you've got a bracelet around your ankle.
Okay, anybody want to answer that?
You just got to dodge the bullets.
Anybody
martial law? That's when after 6 o'clock you got everyone's inside. Anyone outside after a certain time, that's when they can shoot you.
What? They're knocking on doors in America. The WHO, the World Health Organization, the World Police, stormtroopers are knocking on doors. Then where are we going to hide? Anywhere if we want to get some land, it needs to be near water, and it has to be 10 years ahead of any council planning.
Tony.
Yes, I'm done.
You've asked a question, now let somebody answer without interrupting.
No worries. I'll be going to grab me a cup of tea and listening.
Anybody want to answer, Tony?
Next.
Okay, Tim's not talking. Have we heard from Angela? No. We haven't heard from Clara.
I hear from everyone.
And who wants to jump in? Jane, you look like you want to say something.
Okay, so clarifying the intention of the call is, number one, is to actually discuss where our rights stand around leaving our house. First night. Second night is to discuss vaccinations and where we stand with the right to refuse vaccinations. Third night is probably, I'm assuming, about 5G and what are our rights and how can we protest against 5G. And I don't know what else. I'm just imagining, oh, who's that?
That's Clara from Singapore.
So am I correct in the intention of this group and this call? Because it hasn't been clear to me, and I'm just getting clear that that's probably what the intention is. Is that correct?
Who wants to answer?
Hello there. Yeah, I think those intentions are pretty spot on. I'm a bit concerned about the legal status of citizens, Australian citizens, under martial law, and you know, like the jurisdictions that they are operating under to control us.
Yeah.
And that would be the overarch, to me anyway, that would be sort of the overarching sort of indicators of how we strategize these issues, these three issues. I mean, that sort of makes sense to me.
Yep, thanks, Christina. Look, I can answer you, but I'm going to elect to let Ryan throw something in there.
Okay, thank you. Under martial law, all laws of a nation or a country are suspended in place of military law. First and foremost, a citizen will be classified as an unarmed combatant unless they declare themselves a prisoner of war and surrender, basically declaring that they know what is going on. It's all about knowing what your standing is. It's in the Labour Code outlays how they're able to do it. Within the Geneva Convention and Hague Convention 4 specifies what they are and aren't allowed to do. And basically they use, both of those use the Labour Code to write both Geneva Convention and Hague Convention 4. So to learn about laws of war on land is going to be the best way anyone would have any idea of how an occupying military force under martial law is able to treat the people who reside in that that country.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Ryan, I had a question.
Go. Who was next, Thorin or Lana? Lana's next.
Just a moot point. Ryan, some of us, you seem very knowledgeable regarding law. Is that your background? And some of us are feeling a little bit nervous about your blue uniform. You're not a policeman, are you?
Bus driver.
Ah,
Me?
security.
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
I wish
No,
you
by
was
the
a
way.
policeman.
Pacific Security, Protection Pacific Security.
Yeah.
All right.
I am a glorified receptionist.
Okay.
Babysitting machines over the.
Okay,
when no
but
one's
you
here.
obviously know a lot about the law, and so can you just clarify? You're saying who is operating under the international law of war? Which countries?
The United Nations have had occupation on paper of Australia since 1908.
Lana, it's a big, long subject to go down. In one sentence, I can summarise it for you. It is alleged that when the US naval fleet came through Sydney Harbour in 1908, they did so as an indication of the then world banking cartel calling in a debt that was alleged to be owed by the Commonwealth of Australia, which had been in force 8 years. And that debt is now being repaid via the administration of Australia under a law system that basically is an administrative, naval, military war system, and I won't go into the details, but if we look at all the facts of how our alleged government is operating, we see a distinct similarity with how a bankrupt estate is administered. And it's too big a subject to go into, but yeah, I can give you some links.
Okay.
Paulie, what I was going to say on something Brian was saying in relation to all this, Iceland, because I'm seeing that this laws and this is so complicated. What Iceland did when they were drowning in debt and controlled by the government and all that, they basically, all the citizens march. It was called the Pots and Pans Revolution, and basically because why they took all their pots and pans and started banging them on the street. And this actually happened only 2-3 years ago, and it was not broadcast anywhere in the world. No mainstream media, nothing, zero, to stop other countries getting the same idea. And they just basically overthrew the government, put the prime minister who's still in prison, the banksters and all that, and deleted all the debts that the country had. And the civilians and a whole bunch of scientists, normal people, tore up the constitution and rewrote a brand new one. And this happened only a few years ago, and nobody knows about it.
And if you look at the world domination of media by the small group that are in control of it, that's very understandable, Roshan. So to quickly finish off to you, Lana, if, as my research shows me, we are not being put before proper courts. That is, that all the alleged courts that we walk into are in fact private meetings of a group called the BAR Guild, and it's too much of an explanation to go into, but if you believe you're in a court where your constitutional rights are upheld, then I believe you're wrong. You're actually a belligerent combatant in a military tribunal, and you have no rights. And I'm going to talk about that in a future video. But let's try and get back on to the practical steps that we as an action group, if you want to call us that, can take to produce something similar to this document that Ian drew up, which could provide all the information to shove in the face politely to any private employee of Victoria Police Corporation. And Lana, to explain that, I'm referring to what you believe and a lot of other people believe you see when you see a police uniform. We all believe, hey, that's a police person. No, I'm sorry, they're not. They're private employees of Victoria Police Corporation, which is a private company listed on the US Stock Exchange. And get into that later. But I take your point, Ryan, that, and I think it could have been Thorin's point, that these mercenaries, if you want to call them, /police, are simply following the directions of the people behind our, what's the best word for it, fraudulent corporate administrative cartel calling themselves our government. I've chosen my words carefully there because they are a cartel, they are a foreign corporation, they are corporate, and they're not governing us, they are administering the wealth of Australia, the common wealth of Australia. Look, where are we going to go with this, people, in terms of time? It's now 9:30. Can we just get a summary of where we all want to go with time? And Clara, what about you, start? Where are we going with time? Are we going to run this for another hour or what?
Me?
Is that? Yeah.
Okay. It's 7:30 p.m. at my end, and I'm now in Malaysia. They have extended the lockdown some, so it means that we are going to be on lockdown for a total of 42 days. It's supposed to be 28 days. I'm like, wow, this is a really long time.
Wow. Now, can I ask you, Claire, is that your little external speaker that you might have used last year? Oh, yeah. It is. Clara came to stay in Australia for a month or so and had this cute little external speaker. There it is. All right. Okay. So, okay, Clara, can you give us an update on what's been happening in Singapore, Malaysia?
Singapore is on lockdown as well. So in Singapore, the lockdown is supposedly until 7th of May. And the workers, there's a lot of workers, at least like I think 700,000 workers working in Singapore every day. So they shuttered by the border. So now the borders are like entirely closed. And I have some people from KL coming to my space, and it's just that they can't pass the borders. Like they're already in Malaysia. They couldn't get past to the different states because the different states are on lockdown. So it's just, you have free movement today, and the next day you can't get anywhere. You're just stuck in a place.
Wow. And are there examples of the police enforcing this? And
there's
people...
someone who's been jogging. So they announced the lockdown of 14 days. So a doctor was doing a jogging along the street paths, and the police arrested him. And I think they're going to fine him like around 5,000 to 8,000 ringgit, which is around 1,000 to 2,000 Australian dollars. So I was telling them to screw off because jogging is put into one of the recreational activities, but they keep changing the terms back and forth. So I think it has to do with the being silent. Like, he can actually say that I'm going to jog to the supermarket to buy food, but you're in your jogging gear, you know, you can take a plastic bag and just bring it there. But I think he said the wrong thing. So there's people in Singapore who in Batam, because Singapore is really near the borders of Malaysia and Indonesia. So Batam is in Indonesia. And they went there, and then they say that if they come back to Singapore, they have to be on quarantine for 14 days. So they attempt to go back, and the passport is actually confiscated. They cannot go to any countries anymore, because I think they're sort of strict on it. There's a type of restriction never put on people before. And people who are on work permit in Singapore or who have permanent residence in Singapore, like, there's news reports of their permit and their permanent residence being cancelled because they did not adhere to the quarantine times of 14 days, because in Singapore you have to work to survive. So a lot of people, they ignore the forms, like you have to stay at home for 14 days initially, and quite a number got their residency revoked. So I think they're getting quite serious. This is what they're trying to show you.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Clara. Clara, can I ask for one more comment?
Yes.
Given your background in political activism.
Not really.
No.
I just studied them.
Where do you see residents in the area you're in, or groups that you might know about? Do you see any effort being made to fight back against the restrictive policies?
In Asian society, actually, they actually mentioned that they would like to be quarantined for even longer. But there's something rather sinister about this entire thing, because I think they ran a simulation. I think if you look at David Icke's videos, they say that these simulations are run ahead of time. And they try to see how people will react. And in the Asian society, normally more, I think they are more aware of the people. They engage in group thinking. So they do not engage in individualistic thinking. So there were a lot more videos on my social media telling people to stay home, and people spend a lot of time creating a lot of these videos. So I just stay at home and don't come out.
Okay, thanks.
I have went through the Kishon Christopher material, like Mark Kishon Christopher. He said to get out of all these things, because courts take you as a dead person. The only way out of this is to bring a live life claim, and you can get out of basically almost all the things that, all these restrictions that they have put on you. Because they said the police knows what the live life claim was. So you need 2 individual friends to do a live life claim for you. I think you have to do a YouTube search on, I think, PJ, where he actually talks about how to do a live life claim or something like that. It's just 2 fingerprints on a document and with a registered poststamp, and then you can get it out. And in regards to the vaccine, he has also talked about it, where someone have asked about it. He mentions that to get out the vaccine, you get the doctor to sign a claim that the vaccines are completely safe, and the doctor will be at personal liability in case anything happens to your family. He says then the doctor will say, oh, you don't need it at the moment, or something like that. That's what I get. But I probably need to review the video again to see that was completely true. But when a person has to take personal liability for your family for the vaccines, they will probably back off and say, oh, probably it's under research or something.
Yep, Clara, I'll send you a document that I've got that explains all that. Lana, I'll send it to you as well. It's effectively a notice of liability, very similar to the NOLs produced by the Empower movement to do with installation of smart meters. So for those of you that don't know what NOLs do, have a look at, what's the name of the video, George? And it's called An Action of Mass, no, I've forgotten it, but someone will have to, okay, who's put this up? Who's put Crimes Act 1914 up? Is that you, Thorin?
No, my copy has it removed.
Well, who's put it up? Suddenly it's on our screens.
Probably be Tony.
No, not me.
George, is that you?
No, actually.
All right, who the devil? Ah, Darren put it up.
Yeah, Darren. Yeah, Darren.
Hey, Darren, is it correct that it's been removed from the latest consolidated version?
Hang on, he's getting his sound on, folks.
Interesting, George. Crimes Act 1914, the same year as the First World War, and the same year that Jehovah's Witnesses reckon this all started. Very interesting.
Hang on, what's happening? Focus. Who's talking?
Darren's doesn't like dropped out. So I was gonna, the thing that you were saying, Paul, about where to from here, because I want to go pretty soon and sleep and dinner. But what I see is this document that you're going to create is like it's like what Leonard Cohen says, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. So this little document you've got would be like a wedge in the crack to drive it wider. And as they keep changing the rules, regulations, and nonsense, we can keep updating the document to keep in line with that, to allow us a bit more freedom to do other things that we need to do, if that makes kind of sense. And when you've got the document, we need to test it. So someone needs to get arrested or whatever. We just.
Hey, me.
Okay, sure, yeah, because you're a seasoned veteran of that, so we need to get it tested. So.
Okay, I'll happily do that. So look, yes, I take your point, Roshan. This could see us free to go out of our homes at any time, and politely this could be stuck out of the window to a police officer who can then drive off. Lana, what do you want to say?
I'm in New South Wales. Is that just for Victoria?
No, it's going to be relevant to wherever you are. I mean, it'll just cite different legislation in your particular state. No? Does that make sense? Darren, have you got your sound back, mate? No, he hasn't. Yes, he has.
Good start yesterday.
Darren, did you put up something on the screen, a document? Yes. You want to give us an update on what it meant?
Okay, so that's someone was speaking in the chat area about Section 28 of the Crimes Act, not being able to find it, so I put that up just so people could see it if they're interested in. I wasn't privy to the conversation, but
yeah, that was me
was
because
someone
my
after
slotted
that.
copy doesn't seem to have a Section 28. Has it been removed?
Yes, but you can still use it. It's been repealed, okay? But anything that is a right, okay, that's been repealed, you can evoke it if you know about it.
How do you evoke it again? I've forgotten.
By claiming it.
Okay, cool.
You would just simply say to the magistrate, magistrates are not so. Section 28 of the Crimes Act 1914 provides that no one can interfere with my political liberties.
To which they'd responded, it's been repealed.
Well, it's a right.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that
right, so
it's a multi-stage argument, that's all.
And I think
multi-stage argument.
I think you also refer to the Acts Interpretation Act 1901, which clearly says that appealed items are still in force if you claim them to be in force.
Exactly.
Darren,
I'm telling you, it's not like Thorin. It's not this difficult thing to do. Okay.
Darren,
you have a right and you exercise it. That's it. It's very simple.
I can speak to him. This is important. I can speak to that because I was charged with criminal offences and I used that act in court and I won. So I'll just briefly speak about what happened. Centrelink overpaid me for 6 years, and then in 2014 things they go, we overpaid you $28,000. Give us the money right now, or PS. We say you defrauded the government on purpose, so we're charging you with 3 criminal offences.
Oh, wow.
So it was a serious thing. And the legal aid said, plead guilty. They've got a 500-page brief on you, blah, 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 and I'll get you a good plea bargain. And I was crying and I was homeless. And I said, no fucking way, because I didn't do anything. It was their fault. So I took the case on myself and I researched it myself. And I came across the 1914 Federal Crimes Act. And so there's several sections in there, including Section 28, Section 32, was it? I think it was Section 28 QB or Section 32 QB to do with sort of mental health and physical health, and that absolves you from criminal offense. And when I cite, I got an actually good lawyer that actually finally believed me. We went to court, and this is like criminal. This went for the chart. I had to do this for 6 years, going through court and Centrelink and all that, and I went completely crazy. And we went to court, and we cited the 1914 Federal Crimes Act. Every lawyer said this, what I'm looking for doesn't exist. I knew basics about law, maritime law. I said, this does exist, and I found it. We went to court. Not even the judge knew what we were talking about. The judge had no idea. So we had to tell her, look it up right now. And if she looked it up, and to her credit, she was actually kind of pissed off with the prosecution and defense because she said no one ever told her this. And she actually said she made a mistake in the other case, so she's going to go back and fix it. So basically, they dismissed all charges against me.
Good on yourself.
I want you to know.
Yeah.
And no one said this was possible. Like all the lawyers, all this, they said no one's fought the government on Centrelink, and only the 5% of people who do it, less than 1% actually get anywhere and win. And they said the law I was looking for doesn't exist. But for me, if I can't find it, it doesn't exist on the internet.
So, Samson, was the amount of money also nixed, or was it just the criminal charge?
So they're such fucktards. So the Centrelink debt in, what do you call it, the Social Security law, debt is completely separate to criminal charges. I appealed the debt, which is the basis on their criminal charges, but they ran the criminal case before the debt was even heard. So they're two separate things in the bozo's mind.
Yep.
So the debt, after I won the criminal case, I had to still deal with the civil debt case, and they were still chasing me for $28,000. So I said, F you, it's your fault, and I'll give you a deal. I'll pay you back $7,000. And then a day later they go, okay, because it cost them a lot more money to chase me than that. So I'm still paying this debt off over the last, 5 years now.
It's interesting, Rashan. I did the same thing with a friend of mine down in Ferntree Gully, and reduced her debt from whatever it was, $16,000 to $3,200. I wanted her to, fight it higher in the AAT, the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. But the stress that she was under for me to have to go down. Right,
a couple of these and wind up.
The AA,
it is too.
The AA people were extremely, extremely polite and helpful to her, and forced the government solicitor into making her an offer of $3,200 further.
Yes.
Okay, where are we going, peeps?
Darren, your mic's on.
I just want to make a comment.
Okay.
Barney, you've got the floor.
I just wanted to say good on you, Samson, and that was very enlightening. One thing, I think it's really important for us to know the law, know our rights, and I'm really pleased that we're starting to talk about that. What does worry me, though, is isn't it at any time that the law can be changed if it becomes a military takeover? Then the legal status is repealed, isn't it?
So I looked at this as well in the US and stuff. Once the martial law is declared, and President Trump made a very small statement, but it has very big legal repercussions. Recently, he changed from a state of emergency to a state of disaster. And that he can do what he likes without approval of the Senate and Congress and all that. And then after that is a state of martial law. So what I think Ryan said is right. Not all the civil laws and all the human rights, all that, it's set aside and you're put under the rules of military.
That's the way it's always been. Basically, laws don't matter. Might makes right. So whoever owns the guns and whoever owns the military wins. Period. So no matter what we do, as long as the military is in charge and the police have the guns, they win. I mean,
exactly, and that's why there was a push for many years to disarm the United States. But now they bought all the guns. In Australia, just a few weeks ago, my friend who's got a very high security license, he can no longer buy ammunition. The Australian government stopped, they prohibited the sale of ammunition. So even if you were a license.
I've got every security private investigation license. I've been working as a private investigator for 25 years in the U.S. court system, so I understand it from beginning to end. I've gone up against federal agents, FBI agents, con artists, the whole bit, international. So I've been listening in the background while I'm working on my report. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank
This
you.
is exactly why we need to get the military and the police on side.
Huh?
This is exactly why we need to get the military and the police on side.
Yeah, so a couple of things on that as well. Before we get to martial law, I've through my life on different courts, I've been in every court in the country, from county court, high court, family court, every single court I've been in because of families, like lots of shit. So my experience is the loophole, especially in my Centrelink case, is that the courtroom and the judge is like an isolated little thing. If the judge or the prosecution or whatever, they can only argue about what you present with them. So like my judge had no idea what the fucking 1914 Federal Crimes Act was. So if, like you guys were saying, how do we get around this or present the law or whatever, if you just go, oh, in this section it says this, they have to speak and act on that. So just the act that you mention it and go, this is my defense, what I'm arguing, they either can refute it or they have to go along with it. And just how your argument is on that day. So you could say anything, that waffles have to be now declared green with purple turnips, whatever. If it says that in the law, okay, we'll have to discuss that now. Does that kind of make sense?
Rashan, can you bring your comments into the general question of where to here as a populace?
So I've thought about this for a lot. I guess in two phases is awaken a lot more people on the matter. So this little document that you've got and almost a summary statement of the situation is important to distribute to a lot of people. Like even some friends were saying, we just print them and stick them on a sidewalk in the middle of the city and people just pick it up and start reading it. It's like what they did in, pre-internet, communist era, the underground movement.
Yeah, look, what I'm suggesting, I was part of the Melbourne moratorium in 1972, where we didn't have access to printers. We could only use a Gestetner Roneo machine to produce pamphlets. And we basically used grassroots communication and pedalled our bikes out and got various people to leaflet various areas. But the point I'm making is we're proposing that we actually go in and have a mass meeting in Fed Square in Melbourne, which both at the same time of being a passive demonstration would also not technically be a mass meeting, because it would not have a defined core who'd called it. Therefore, it would fall outside of the restrictions being placed on us by these directions, and it would be a demonstration of how we can get around their regulations and walk past each other 1.5 meters apart and circulate pamphlets. And properly videoed, the group that I'm talking to about this, which is the anti-vax group, are saying that this would be a huge finger up to the government by saying to them, you think you can lock us in your homes, you've given us 9 pages of loopholes that allow us out of our homes, so we're exercising those rights. We're coming in to Fed Square, we're not meeting with other groups, we're each saying a metre and a half away, but we just happen to be swapping pieces of paper, and videographers standing around us happen to be videoing the content of that document that's going straight on to Facebook Live. Now, I would reckon, and I've got friends in Channel 31 in Melbourne, I've got a friend there who will happily, he's an ex-BBC cameraman, he'll happily come up with his film crew, he'll put us up on Channel 31, he'll put us perhaps on, you know, whatever, what are the other medias? There's Instagram and whatever the other one is. What's the other one? Twitter? Whatever. But I guess I'm saying that we've got to focus on an event, and I take your point, whoever said it, that we've got to awaken the masses, but I think that was you, Samson. But sadly, even within my own family, my children and my ex-partner are going, yep, I'll happily front up at the doctor's and get a flu shot. And so to me, there's so much unawareness, and so much percentage of the populace are unaware sheeple that I seriously question whether we'll not turn out to be labelled this idiot group that go and congregate on the beach in Sydney or wherever they were.
But Paul, on that sheeple thing, the sheeple do have an advantage, which means we have an advantage over sheeple because they can be led by whoever the Pied Piper is. So once more people wake up and they say, oh, there's people on the streets, it's safe to go out. Why are we out? Okay, I'll do that as well because I'm a sheeple. And so the two things I went to from here and getting your Fed Square thing happening is the way to stop people acting is through fear, the biggest way. And so we have to, and right now in the pandemic, there's two causes of fear. One is the virus, oh, I'm going to get sick and die. Two is I'm going to get in trouble and arrested and fined. Those are the two things we have to counter. And that will be by flyers and information, basically just saying, even asking people, ask yourself these questions, blah, 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 about the virus and some information about it. So then it will alleviate or get them to start to doubt what the actual virus is, and they reduce the fear. And then once we have that document, they'll feel more comfortable in also going outside because we've got this document going, look, you're actually allowed to go exercise, supermarket, this, blah, 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 blah. So as that takes hold, then more people will come out, congregate, and then we can organize that kind of thing. So you just need to counter the fear and get people a bit more comfortable because right now everyone's kind of in shock. They just don't know which way their ass is up.
Okay, Rashan, are you wanting to say something, Tony McCall?
Yeah, just come back for a second, back to section 28. You'll find that that's consistent with the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights. So you look into that. And just on what Samson was saying, yes, so you're looking at a 100 monkey principle where people see somebody else roaming around thinking that's okay, then others will want to follow in that process.
Okay, so look, let's, it's now about 10 o'clock. Jane, you brought up an interesting point right at the start of what's our intention for tonight's meeting. Could you, if you choose, give us a summary of what you now think that is?
Okay, so what I believe the intention, well, we didn't quite get to it totally, but what I'm hearing is the intention is for this call is to break down in parts the various aspects that we're dealing with in this crisis and to find ways where we can make a difference and step up and raise awareness and take action to combat each of those areas. The first one being around our right to leave our house and how we get around the police and our rights around that and creating a document around that and being clear of our rights. The second one is around vaccination and our rights to say no to that, and how do we do that. And the third one is around 5G. And I would say there's a fourth one there, which is actually about martial law. And if the worst should happen, what are our rights and what steps can we take to shift the masses and to stop that from happening, basically. And it only takes, can I say at the end, and it only takes the tipping point, a tipping point, which many people will know on this call, is only 10% of people. So yes, most people don't understand what we're talking about. They don't understand it. That's okay. We only need 1 in 10 to create a tipping point. We just need to remember that. And also, we've got angelic beings in the heavens that are supporting us, if you believe in that. There is no doubt about that. There are other forces at play that are supporting the good and getting rid of the evil on the earth. So we need to stand in that possibility as well.
And just two things on what Jane said on the martial law, because we're also forgetting that, you know, soldiers, police, all that, they're not aliens from outer space. These are our friends, family, this, all that, who are in police, military, and all that. So they're also fellow Australians, and they have friends. You know, if they shoot someone in the street, that could be the dude who served them a milkshake in McDonald's or whatever. So it happens often in different countries. The military just stands aside because they're on the side of civilians, because they are civilians at the end of the day as well.
Yes. Not when the UN soldiers on American soil.
Okay, that is, yeah. And
hang on, folks. Vass, down bottom left corner. We haven't heard from you, mate.
Put your hand up. And
Vass?
Oh, yeah, I was sort of on and off between the Know Your Rights show and here, but Darren had a good little response that you could go give to the police officers on the side of the road when they put you over with breaking their laws or whatever under the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. I did take some notes there, but did Darren rejoin the meeting, or did he not?
Jumped in and then gone again.
Yeah.
So Vass, where to for us as a populace from here, given that the Deputy Chief Health Officer has now issued level 3, stage 3 restrictions? You've heard about them?
Yeah, earlier I did. Yeah, is that stage 3 till next till the 13th? Is it?
Correct.
But Darren was saying it might go for longer, but it's going to be revised or something. But it's all irrelevant if it doesn't apply under all these laws. And Darren was saying he couldn't find any law, anything in the laws that comes under the fines they've been issuing.
Yep.
Yeah, and what you said, Vass, is actually correct, because all these things, they're rules. They're not actual laws. There's no legal basis for them. So if they're fining you, that so it all it requires is a lot of nuffs to go along with what they're saying. And if enough of us just go, no, we're not going along with it, they got nothing to hold us to. In terms of, I think what Lana or someone was saying in terms of, I think, just want to say this thing in terms of protests. The whole point of a protest is to raise awareness on an issue. So and that's the whole point of a protest. So most people don't know about the laws about what, put that document Paul's got, that the virus is bullshit, all that. So regardless of which, protests will draw awareness on it. And once and that's what climate change They've protested enough. We know what's an issue. So after that, after it's a known issue, protest is not relevant. Then you need action. So right now we're in the not many people know what the issues are. So therefore, I think.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, protesting in Fed Square, whatever, with that document and all that as a starting point is a good idea.
Thanks, Roshan. George is wanting to make a comment.
Yeah, there's. I think last week we raised, and you actually had this idea, Paul. I think you could issue an FOI to the public health officer or whoever that spokesperson is, issuing those orders to ask them for evidence of a pandemic, because there clearly isn't. And you know, if they can't. Sorry.
That was going to be via a Supreme Court case that I was going to raise until I discovered through Ian Wednesday, that all new applications to courts have now been denied. Now that's a whole new different rabbit hole to go down, because it effectively denies me a legal remedy to an issue I have, which is that my rights are being denied and abrogated. And for a government to deny me that right by closing their court system actually puts me in a position where I can criminally charge the head of the Department of Justice here in Victoria. But on a separate level, look, there's a whole lot of points that I could bring up to answer a whole lot of things that you all said, but I am aware, and I'm saying this to the people like you, Samson, like Darren, and particularly Ryan, wherever he's gone, that a lot of the understanding of these complicated legal precepts are not yet understood by enough people to give them confidence in going forward. You know, I've met a woman in court whenever I met her, and I said, look, do you know what a notice of better and further particulars is? And she said no. Now, she was in the Supreme Court fighting an action against two large banks, and she had not heard of the correct legal process to get information out of them, which is serving them a notice for better and further particulars. And the point I'm making is that we are a diverse group of aware people. Lana, for instance, has got a whole lot more knowledge about medicine than me. I may have a whole lot more knowledge about legal process. Darren's probably got even more knowledge about legal process than me. However, I'm a practical guy. I want a resolution that we can take out into the streets via, let's say, this planned meeting / non-meeting that may happen in a completely uncoordinated, natural manner, where anywhere between 50 and 500 or 600 people walk past each other in Fed Square, handing each other flyers and get filmed. You know, if that's going to be where we go, then that's where we go. But I don't know. It's unclear. Who wants to jump in?
I just had something come to me as well, which is it's a way out. Is the antithesis of what we're doing. That we're trying to search for answers, the right answer, the right law, the right document, the right way out of the court system. And as a group, 13, whatever, 14 people, there's not many of us to find all the right answers. But what just occurred to me was maybe we don't need to find the answers. We can just start getting people, many people, whoever, motivate them to start asking questions, and they will find the answers. So basically, you know, we could be at Fed Square or whatever, instead of handing them things with answers, to get them to question things, and they'll go, oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense. I'm going to go look that up. or what is that, or whatever. So it's motivate them, inspire them to find the answers for themselves, because in my experience, when people tell me stuff, I don't believe them. I go and find it out for myself. And the best belief system is when you find the answers for yourself. You go, oh yeah, then it's inside you, not someone just told me. Does that make sense? So maybe we just inspire them to ask questions, not give them answers.
I 100% agree with that, 100%. And it actually crossed my mind that, you know, another way is like having pamphlets or oh, is everyone there?
Yeah, we hear you,
Oh,
John.
where I think that's a fantastic idea. It's like, did you know? You know, like there's those things. Did you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just a document that could be put all over Facebook or everywhere. Did you know? Da da da. Check or whatever. Like, or asking questions or and it's like it's igniting their curiosity of like it's intrinsic rather than being told something. I totally agree, because that's what we need to stir in people, right? Because a lot of people are carrying, don't tell me what to do. Carrying, you don't know more than me and I'm not going to listen to you. They're carrying all those programs in their head. So they need to be stirred from within so that they feel responsible for what they know.
Yeah, and when I'm exactly what you said, because I met John DiMartini in person, and he said that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that's asked.
100%.
So, like when you said the "did you know," I wouldn't be writing like "did you know," because "did you know" already implies that you have the answer. Like, so that we just want to inspire people. What I also learned in my own personal experience, the truth is in here. That's the only place you'll find the truth. What sits right, what feels good for you, and that's different for every single person. But as we can just encourage them to look inside, and the truth is the only thing that's constant. So when they look inside, sooner or later, everyone will come to the same conclusion.
However, it could. The only thing I would say, I 100% agree, but we haven't got a lot of time, right? So, like, you know, like how are you going to get people to find out that Bill Gates is what he's doing, right? It's like, or you know, that 5G, I don't know.
Well, how they did it back in the day, we don't even have to ask the right questions. We can just ask whatever questions, but that will inspire people to ask questions. We can say, did you know that the sky is purple? No, what? So you just pass the questions all over the city in flyers.
Okay, so let's create a list of questions. That's one thing we can do. That's one thing we can do.
And it's our own questions. Like basically the questions we can all write is what you, like what me, Samson, Dave, Christina, what got you on this path? What made you get curious down the rabbit hole? So maybe write those questions that you looked up and go, oh, this isn't quite right.
Yeah.
What's happening? Samson, Jane, can I just jump in because I'm aware that I think Darren and some bloke named Van are either going to say something or they're going to leave. One of the two.
Yeah, we've got to leave, guys. So we'll see you soon. And Thorin, you can come around for beers if you'd like.
What now?
Of course.
Hey, just quickly, Darren, were there any pearls of wisdom dropped on a special airing of the Know Your Right show tonight?
Many pearls of wisdom, especially about the fake fines that are being handed out by police that fail to be under the Health and Wellbeing Act. There's the COVID-19 fines that they're issuing must be under the Health and Wellbeing Act. If police go to hand you out a fine, question them about that they're issuing them under the Crimes Act, because there are no offences under the Crimes Act. And that was with the advice of DHS. I rang DHS after being advised to call them by the Victorian government, because they are running everything at the moment. There's a private corporation named the Department of Health and Human Services who are running this state at the moment. And just remember, they're a corporation for the purposes of Section 5120, and they cannot force their services upon you according to the Competition and Consumer Act.
Hey, one quick
when is your show?
Hang on.
It was the Know Your Right show.
When?
Where it is on a need to know basis, but when it's on a Tuesday night from 8 till 10. We had a special coronavirus edition tonight, but
is that available on? Do you record that? So can we have a listen to that? Or?
Yeah, the podcast goes up tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a podcast going up tomorrow or something.
Hey,
I'm just a special guest. It's not my show.
Darryl, one quick last question. I've heard that there are no new applications going into courts. Can you confirm or deny
Yes,
that?
that's correct.
Bugger.
And they have shut down jury trials, which is what they've always wanted to do, because they are scared of juries, because it is the people who decide and not them.
They overturned a jury in the county court recently and let some bloody priest free.
Correct.
So that's how you come to be here tonight, Paul.
Can I just say that someone has posted on the chat that there is a no more lockdown march happening in all cities and towns. Did everyone see that?
Yep, this Sunday.
Yeah, I put.
So who's organising that?
I'll be there with my 1.5 metre distance and tool.
Yeah, I put the post up, Lana.
Where's that, in the city?
Is it like Australia-wide or?
No, it's just a poster that I found on the net, and I thought I'd just flash it up because I don't know if anything formalised is organised. If you want to
organise, did you put the date on, or is that?
It's supposed to be for this.
Did you
Sunday.
put the date on, George?
No. I just copied this off the internet.
Oh, okay. So it's someone's organised it, have they?
Well, I don't know if they've organised anything. It could be just a poster. It's up to people to rally themselves and get together and do it if they wish.
It was issued by the government for revenue services.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trap by the police. They'll just find us when we get there.
Exactly. You guys have a pleasant evening. See ya.
Actually, Paulie, I had a really good idea on funding everything, and this is what I thought of earlier. When there was lots of backpackers and all that on the beach, and everyone knows that you get fines. I just thought of walking around in a blue shirt with an FPOS machine and go, on the spot fine, you're out, you shouldn't be here. I'll give you a good deal, swap your FPOS card, $500. All I need is 10 bozos to do that. I got $5,000 in my bank account.
You're going to end up in court again, Samson.
Well, I can't because the courts are closed. That brings me to another point, Paulie. Paul, you said they don't allow you the remedy by law, which means their own issue they hold you against is therefore dissolved. You can't have one half of a coin.
Okay, look, I could speak to that, but it's a long subject. There is a better system than the public court system, and it is called a private administrative settlement or process settlement system. It's a big subject. I don't want to take you down it because it's hard for a lot of people to understand.
You've been threatening for a while now.
Sorry, what's that, Thorin?
You've been threatening for a while now to do this. I mean,
I'm going to do a Zoom on it. I've just been. You should have seen me, mate. Mosh put me in front of his camera before, and somehow I talked for 45 minutes, and everybody said, "Gee, that's surprising, Paulie." But anyway, what I'm getting at is it's a difficult concept to suddenly hear that dealing with a charge given to you by a police officer is not properly done through a public court. I mean, when the first person said that to me said it to me, I went, "No, you're wrong. I want to go into court and deal with it." and now I'm completely convinced that public courts are not the correct way to deal with any matter that comes into your life. The correct way to deal with it is with a private settlement. If someone says to me, you didn't put the handbrake on your car and it rolled into my car in the park spot in front of me, and I want compensation, I want my car fixed, etc., etc., there's two options that I've got. One is that I offer to fix it because I accept it's my fault, and two, I accept it wasn't my fault and I force effectively that other party to deal with me some other way. Long, deep subject. I won't go any further, but what I'm getting at is that we as individuals are facing oppression by what we're told is a government, but as you just heard from Darren, is in fact a private foreign corporation known as DHHS. And this, for a lot of you, is going to be info you won't be aware of, but for people like Clara and Ryan and George and me and a few others, including Thorin, it's stuff we've known about for years. However, the difficulty as I see it is that somebody who's very aware, and there's people in this room with me that are extremely aware on both 3D and 4D and 5D levels, and which is what I think you were alluding to before, Jane. And for people like them or us to deal with sheeple who have very limited awareness is, it's scary for them. If you tell them that the coronavirus is a man-made, laboratory-made bioweapon, they'll look at you to say, keep away from me, you're one of those kooky, etc., etc., etc. So I don't see it as an easy task we've set ourselves. And yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling that we should wrap it up. It's almost quarter. We've got one more comment from someone here who's going to come near the microphone.
No, I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
It's Matt.
Matt.
Hang on, folks.
No one's asked that. What?
Okay, we're going to have a comment from the other person in the room, and he's going to come into view. Woo! Okay, his name is Paper Shield.
Call me Paperbeard.
Paperbeard.
Yeah.
Go on.
Anyway, so this will be a common thread through all of this, which is basically we are being, our rights are being breached by our brothers and sisters who are staff and officers working for the illegal entities. So we can, once we learn how to deter these people, our brothers and sisters, that's pretty much most of our work done, where there's big corporations who are pulling the strings, have no hands to push their agendas and breach our rights. So once again, how do we do this? How do we deter these people? It seems to be just exposing the entities and also educating the population. It sounds simple, I know it's not, but this is what I pick up. Everybody's bringing up all these arguments, all these subjects, all these angles. It's our rights being breached. So, I don't know, that's the common thread that I pick up. So, can we work on that?
Doesn't that come back to natural law and Mark Passio style? Moral order following?
Yeah, exactly. Why are we following orders when we know that we don't have to?
Well, I just hope there's a lot of arrests happening at the moment, which if you're following QAnon, that's a possibility that the lockdowns are part of that. and that a lot of stuff's going to be revealed soon. And I'm praying that that is correct and that is happening, and there's going to be a lot of stuff revealed that we don't even know is going on. So anyway.
Okay. That's
yeah, great. I received some intel. It was online. I trusted source. It wasn't confirmed that US troops have arrived in Australia on 5 military ships.
Okay. Supposition is great, but without evidence, it is simply supposition. Let's have a wrap up, starting with Thorin. Let's be out of here in 7 minutes, please.
I just wanted to follow up on what I said earlier and what was just said then, that we need to make sure that those people who are holding the guns, the military and the police, are on our side if things go down, at the path that we hope that they don't go down, but may. And the way that we do that is we just really have to tell a better story. We have to make sure that we're seen to be on the side of right and to communicate that well, and I think we'll be okay.
Okay, Samson.
Where to from here? Every one of us and every civilian on the street knows the answer to their own problems. We don't need a government. We don't need this. We don't need that. So in one way, so the where to from here for me is I'll write down my own curious questions, print them, and just randomly throw them, like, oh, I put them on top of my car, I drove off. Oops, they just fell on the road. Oh, no. And also, Paulie, to finish that document you're talking about, those are the 2 points I think we should all work on. Everyone to write curious questions, print them, and put them somewhere.
Okay. Vass? Vass? A wrap-up?
Yeah, I think, didn't we, one of our objectives, as Jane mentioned earlier, was to write a little thing that we could
plaster on our cars.
Yeah, that we could, just in case we are pulled over for anything, we could have a comeback.
Yeah.
So didn't we mention that was going to be a little document we're going to prepare at the start of the night? Did we really achieve that?
That's the document that should have got to me on a memory stick at 7 o'clock, but didn't get here until the meeting had started. You did hear from the guy who wrote it, who made some quite pointed comments to us all, saying that we weren't organised. And look, I totally respect his views. I know how deep he's into repelling some of the stuff that he's been involved with for nearly 40 years. But that document will get finished and get out to you via emails or however we're going to do it. And we'll make sure it's able to be modified, Lana, so that it can state. Okay, who's going to wrap up? Lana, you? No, you're going to have to unmute.
Yeah, I'm on 1%, but look, I think it's been productive and look forward to further meetings. I think we've got to get organised. We may well need legal representation in the future. There's the Stop 5G group. There's the Know Your Rights group. And in the future, there might be the anti-vaccine group. So we've got some structure. We just need to be very well organised. And, thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Lana.
Thank you very much. Let's write some questions.
Okay, hang on, Jane. Christina next.
Yep. Yeah, let's get the ball rolling, guys. Great to see you all here. And we'll meet again, regroup. I think, yeah, that's good. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Clara? Hello, Clara. No, Jane, do you want to wrap up? No, Clara's back.
Yeah.
A quick wrap-up comment, please.
I don't think I have any wrap-up.
There's some.
I will probably be going to the see what I can learn about these things.
Great. And I'll be over in a fishing boat to pick you up in about 3 days, Clara.
You need to find your passport, Ollie. Like, you know, passport is to pass the port, and it's better to stay around with me, you know.
Okay, thanks, Clara. Tony, you're next.
What was that? Sorry?
Tony, you're next for a wrap-up comment, and George is going to finish up.
Maybe, well, the only thing that I could think of is we're kind of like at the arse end of the stick, and we've had the entire world to be using as a reference as to where things are going, and I'll leave it at that. Let's just see how it pans out in the United States of America Corporation.
All right, thanks, Tony. George, you've got the last comment.
All right. I was just trying to update my profile picture with a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil emblem. I can't find it. So I'll stick with what I've got, the censorship one. Hang on. But the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil system doesn't work. We can't stick our heads in the sand about these sort of issues. We have to know what it is, what we want to change. And I think it was, she's gone now, but she talked about a critical mass. I don't think she used the same words. Requiring maybe 10% of the population to create a massive change. I don't think it needs that much, actually. So anyway, there was a worldwide meditation last Sunday. Do you remember that? I saw a news feed saying they got 1 billion people to focus on that meditation, which seems hard to believe. That would be enough to change everything. If they got 1 billion people, I kind of doubt it. But anyway, let's see. I don't know where it's going to go.
All right, we're going to go, folks. See you 8 o'clock Monday night if you want to continue action.
And as they say on TV, with my pun intended, same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Log us out, will you, George?
And George, save the recording and then don't lose it.
Yeah, it's still recording, so I got the lot.
All right, good. Bye.
My sound was terrible when I put the video on. It's clearing up now. Wonder why.
Are you gone?
Anybody else? Anybody still speaking? Roshan? Okay. See you, Vass, and see you, Tony.
So, yeah, are you going to upload this video onto the Magpie House website?
I don't know where it's going to come up. It's got so many faces. It's got so many faces on it. I don't know if it's a good idea.
Yeah, needed our consent. Yeah, but maybe even the audio. I'll leave it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll be ending the meeting.
Good night.
Maybe a portal for people to download it for themselves.
Yeah. I could make it a private video on YouTube or something like that, and nominate who wants to download it. Anyhow, I'll try and save the text as well. I don't know how to do that.
Sure, there's a bot in someone's vaccine that can do it.
Huh?
Sure, there's a nano bot in someone's ID 2020 vaccine that can be able to do it.
Oh, well.
Just wait till then.
All right, I'm going to turn it off and have a good night, and we might see you again on Monday night.
If we don't spin into a vortex of light by then.
All right, then. Bye.